So you have to accept that the minute that you ask for something from God in order to make someone more harmonious, then that energy has been given. So it is best to heal and then set about doing something different entirely that takes the physical mind off the fact that you have acted as a channel for God light. What you then have to consider is, how much does the person believe in healing? And a very grave question, but one that has to be asked, does the person want to be healed? Very often, illness is an opportunity. Yes, it's an opportunity to learn and to evolve, but it is also an opportunity for many poor souls to shine in a way, to receive attention, to receive a level of interest from others that they would not normally have were they not ill. That sounds a terrible thing to say, but nevertheless, in many cases, not in all cases, it is true. And so the best way to heal someone is by sneaking up on them, is by healing them and not telling them, is by seeing the light that you are sending out from God, enveloping them, changing them, wiping away the symptoms. What we are doing, the reason that I come back to communicate, is to bring healing. As you change the world, you are healing it. You have to heal at base level. And you also have to understand that God understands what is wrong with that person. And very often what you see as being wrong with that person today is something that is deep-rooted in yesterday, is a belief, is a wound, is a recognition of self in a skewed way that has nothing to do with what is happening today other than that it has caused it. And it might be that the arm that is giving a problem relates to a feeling that I cannot give, that comes back to childhood or to a past life. So healing is a very complex series of events, but not to God. God knows exactly what to do. And the best healing is a matter of faith, is a matter of tuning in, is a matter of saying, thank you God, it is done, and then a matter of taking your mind off the subject. Is that sufficient?
It is. The sneaking up approach is something I do with my father, and I find it does work. Well, it appears to sound evangelical. How do we spread, because we're all like-minded souls here, how do we spread the word, as it were? How do you get the message across to people who either don't want to listen because they're too engrossed in the field, whatever? How do we do that?
It is a method of sneaking up. Is a great way to do this as well. And not to tell anyone, and to each day spend a portion of your time, be it a minute or 5 minutes, seeing the world that you want. And seeing the world that those souls who will not change at this time really want. Because here is another revelation. Those souls do not want the violence that they instigate. They do not want the pain that they instigate. They do not want the illness they instigate. Not at core, but on the surface. They feel that they want those things. They feel the need to survive and the need for power on a mental level, on a physical, emotional level, but not at a God level, not at the level of what they really are. And so you have to appeal spirit to what people really are. And therefore you have to send light into their hearts and say, I recognize you as who you really are. Because who they really are is far stronger than who they think they are. Far stronger than the prejudices, far stronger than the violence, far stronger than the tendency towards depression and sadness and anger and anxiety. Far stronger, because all everything else is an illusion. So point to point, you have to send light out to the world and sneak into that soul and say, I recognize you. Not, I recognize your mind, I recognize the problems in your personality, but I recognize you heart to heart. And heart to heart is where the change takes place. You also have to send out to believe, to live in your own view of how the world should be. Now you each do this because you are, each of you, creators. So every minute of every day you are creating around you what you believe to be true and what you expect from life. So you have to generate your individual world outwards. You have to say to yourself, and be strong enough to say to yourself, I live in a world that is peaceful. I live in a world that is loving. I live in a world that is understanding, that is harmonious. I live in a world that is charged by God energy and not by the limited negative energies of the field. And you have to live in that world. Just as you live in the world that you've created day by day, you have to live in that world. And by living in that world, you become a beacon for others who wish to live in such a world. And you become an inspiration to those who wish to uplift their lives. There will always be the stragglers. And they are the most difficult to reach. But the message that I bring through, the message that we bring through, is that if enough of you join together, heart to heart to heart to heart to heart, then there is no power left in the field to mask those who are left, those who want to cling on to the physical power, those who want to cling on to the hurts that don't really exist, those who want to cling on to notions of taking land and manipulating people and collecting material things. If enough of you join together, and remember, we join to you, God joins to us, joins to you, to each other, then you won't have to worry about those who are stragglers, because there won't be enough negative power for them to invest in any longer. And at that point, they too inevitably remember who they are. And your world vision of light and peace becomes every world vision of light and peace, and the world becomes once again a vision of light and peace. This world was such an exquisite place. An exquisite place. A place to visit and then to move on from. A place to revel in the different aspects of creation, the light that was in each life, the light that was in every blade of grass, in every area of the earth, in the mountains, in the seas, in the skies. Such an exquisite place. And slowly, because of the effects of the field and because of the effects of the fall, that vision of reality has become encased in a hard shell of darkness, a hard shell of dependency on a field that purports to give but in effect takes. What we have to do is to reach in to that inner vision of the earth, which is still there, compressed but still there, just as you are still an angelic being, compressed but still there, and say, I recognize that vision, not the vision that comes through my window, comes through my television screen, comes through my newspapers. And then you amplify the power of that inner vision and you change things. Again, it is a simple, simple, simple thing. And it is so important that along the way you do not become entangled in the complexities that tell you that they are here spiritually. Always go within. Always test what you are being given. And if it comes up short, if it is too complex, if it does not contribute to a change in global experience for the better, throw it out. Is that a sufficient answer?
It is, yes. I'll carry on sneaking up on people.
I try it all the time. I sometimes try to influence people just, I suppose, out of what you would describe as ego. to sneak up on people, as it were, and to say, how's this for a thought? As they are immersed in their newspaper and thinking that things are ever so bad. Or sitting in front of the television screen and listening to and absorbing and believing everything that is said to them. I sometimes just touch them on the shoulder and say, how about this for a different way of thinking? Oh dear, I should know better. Sometimes with a child you get through. Sometimes with a dog you get through. But very often there is so much going on, there is so much speed, there are so many layers of complexity on this physical level that light, whilst being absorbed by the inner core of the person and doing some good there, does not come up to the surface. Such a pity. But for now, a pity. For now, we are here to change things. You are here to change things. And change things you will. Another question, please.
Could we make this the last question so we don't overtire Michael?
Could I ask a question about the field? When you talk about it, I almost get the impression of a kind of external rather than malevolent force, but I know I'm misunderstanding that. Could you explain what it is?
Yes, this goes back and back and back and back. Further than the dinosaurs. Further than this present civilization. Further than the civilization that was there before the dinosaurs. To a time when this world was a co-creation between God and between the angels. And at that time there was and still is a creative hive, again is perhaps a word I should use, a creative hive energy that was used to shape certain concepts. Not concepts as you would see them now, not shaping a new fridge or a new car, but shape certain concepts in order to experience them and in order to experience the differences and similarities between each angelic form. At the time of the fall, things became not the straight path, but the crooked path. And as a result of that, mankind separated itself in thought, but not in reality, from the God within. There was a movement away from the God within, and a reliance on each other and not the God within. And as a result of the actions of the fall, and these are actions that will be described in the coming months to Michael, if I don't overrun him, the actions of the fall made things denser. And this area of being became a trap. Became somewhere that spirits wanted to visit and visit and visit and visit and visit, believing that this was the centre of creation and that God wasn't. God was outside of that. Also, as a result of those moves, the field of energy that circled the earth and permeated each person on earth, each angel on earth at that time, became heavier. Because the field is part of creation, it is sentient, it is aware. And it was fed from the time of the fall onwards by the insecurities and anxieties of the people on earth, rather than the bliss that fed it before the fall.